All right, welcome to the continuing NDPA summer webinar series. My name is Adam Katchmarchi. I'm the CEO of the National Drowning Prevention Alliance, and we will get to our panelist introductions in just a moment. Thank you for joining us for today's discussion on the planning for World Drowning Prevention Day 2024. That date is July 25th. If you are wondering, we're holding the webinar about a month early to give our attendees the ability to think about how they might participate in the world's largest swimming lesson was last week, World Drowning Prevention Day. There's been so many activities this summer season. We will get right into today's discussion. Attendees are welcome to participate in today's discussion by using the chat or the question and answer function at the bottom of your screen. I'll be monitoring those questions coming in, and we will throw them into the discussion as we can today. So welcome to our panelists. We are joined today by Megan Ferraro of the Zach Foundation, Alison Petri from Abbey's Hope, Lindsay Mondick from YMCA of the USA, and from Connie Harvey from the American Red Cross. To start off today's discussion, I'm going to ask each panelist to give a brief introduction of who they are and their organization. Megan, would you like to start?
Thank you, Dr. Katchmarchi. My name is Megan Ferraro. I'm the Executive Director of the Zach Foundation for Children's Safety, which was formed after 6-year-old Zachary Archer Cohn became entrapped and drowned in his family's backyard swimming pool. Since then, we have brought programming into Boys and Girls Clubs all across the United States through our week-long Zach Camp and our partnership with the American Red Cross and its Centennial Campaign. And we're also deeply involved in coalition building and state and local plan development. So deeply involved in the U.S. National Water Safety Action Plan, the plans in California, Texas, New Jersey, and beyond, and then local plans like those in Chicago and Central Texas. So hoping to be a helpful resource to you all today and looking forward to our discussion.
Thanks, Megan. Alison, I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, I'm Alison Petri from Abbey's Hope in Minnesota. Abbey's Hope was formed after Abigail Taylor had a pool drain incident. She unfortunately eventually lost her life to the pool drain incident, but her parents were asked by her to continue water safety and help make sure pools are safer. So we work really hard on things like the VGB, which keeps pools safer, and we work a lot in Minnesota and around the country on drowning prevention and water safety. We've recently changed a lot of our work to focus on open water safety in the land of 10,000 lakes here in Minnesota. We started off wanting to give away a couple hundred life jackets. We are now on a 5-year mission of 10,000 life jackets in the land of 10,000 lakes. To put it in perspective, about 2,000 life jackets is a semi-truck full. We have about 5 semi-truck fulls of life jackets we are giving out in our community, and we just hit the 6,000th life jacket. I got to strap on a kid about the beginning of the month, which was really cool. Just a great way to bring water safety to the area and the community we live in. But again, nationally, we love to work on advocacy and love to work on larger solutions toward this big problem.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Alison. Lindsay, we'll turn it over to you.
Hey everybody, Lindsay Mondick. I'm the Director of Strategy and Quality Practices in Aquatics at YMCA of the USA. Really in that role, I focus on leading practices in aquatics within the YMCAs, everything from drowning prevention programming, lifeguarding, swimming lessons, to advocacy, competitive swimming, aquatic safety. Really, if it happens in or around the water, I'm lucky enough to be a part of it within our YMCAs. Also doing national advocacy work with a lot of the folks on the call here, and being a part of the National Water Safety Action Plan Steering Committee as well. Love for water starting in my youth and hasn't stopped, and now I'm lucky enough to make a career out of it. So thanks, Adam.
Thanks for being here, Lindsay. And last but not least, we'll turn it to Connie.
Hi, my name is Connie Harvey. I am with the American Red Cross. My role is the director of our Aquatic Centennial Campaign and our survival programs, which has expanded into also working to improve survival rates for out-of-hospital cardiac arrest. In our Centennial Campaign, we focus in communities where the drowning rates or numbers of drownings are high, and it turns out that there are a lot of disparities related to survival of out-of-hospital cardiac arrest in those same communities. So it makes a great deal of sense. The CPR has always been a part of our Centennial Campaign because we know how important it is. to respond to a drowning incident. So it was a natural expansion that we're really excited to be able to do this and help communities where the need is greatest. And it definitely relates. I too was part of the National Water Safety Action Plan Steering Committee and the work that continues as a result of that. I'm sure most of you know who are listening in, the Red Cross obviously is super involved in the lifeguarding and developing water safety instructors to be able to teach swimming lessons as well. I was most recently involved in the release of the revision of our Whale Tails program. And of course, that's going to be something that I'll be talking about a little bit more. And that is our dry land water safety program, focusing on kids kindergarten to 5th grade. Similar to Lindsay, started loving the water young, and it has stuck, and definitely feel grateful that this is some amazing mission-based work that really makes a difference that I get to do every single day.
Well, thank you, Connie, and thank you to all of you for joining us for this discussion. I want to start out talking about the inception of World Drowning Prevention Day. This was put forward by the World Health Organization to the United Nations back in 2021. UN passed a resolution to create World Drowning Prevention Day, recognized all around the world. But I want to start out with, why is this important? So I'm going to pose that question to each of you. Connie, I'm going to start with you, and then Connie, you got to think on the spot, but the other panelists, you have a few moments to think about your answer.
Well, the great thing is it shines light on, like Alison said, this really big problem. You know, and if people do not understand that drowning is an issue, that it can happen to them, then there's so many things that families have to worry about, that if that's not high up on the list of understanding that it is a problem, it could happen to them, it may not get the attention that it needs. And so I think just, you know, elevating it to the status that you know, this global you know, recognition of this as a problem that affects, you know, countries throughout the world, including ours, that it just helps in every way, from awareness at the family level all the way through at the legislative level and policy level, and therefore funding level, so that we can help create solutions.
Thanks, Connie. Lindsay, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. I think, like Connie said, raising awareness is important, but continuing to uplift that there is evidence-informed solutions, right, to work towards prevention. And we know, even despite this, with the latest CDC report, that the number even in the United States isn't decreasing. And we need to ensure that people know the scale of the problem, both worldwide, but also within the United States. And we need continue elevated, you know, coordinated action.
Great answer. Alison.
So as this is a national problem, it's also an international problem. And I think the idea is an understanding, especially for those of us in the United States, that there is an inequity in the distribution of resources. As we work with continued populations from immigrants from different countries, we learn different cultural understandings of drowning, and we also learn what they are used to from where their native country. We recently had a gentleman from the Marine Corps ask us how we could get 100 life jackets to bring with him to the Philippines. He said all kinds of people drown in the Philippines, and he doesn't know of a single place that sells a life jacket. It seems like it's a simple problem, but it's also an incredibly complicated problem, and it runs deep. And so it's one of those things that the more minds we can put in this, and the more hands we can work on this, the closer we'll come towards solutions, and the closer we'll come to hoping that this happens to no one. I want no one's child, whether they're here in Minnesota or across the world, to drown.
Great answer. Megan.
Well, it's hard to add anything new to what these really bright ladies have already shared. I guess I'll build off of something, I'm not sure if it was Connie or Lindsay that said, you know, having this particular day that water safety is being recognized on a global scale brings some additional I don't want to say credibility, but in a way, credibility to the media to encourage them to cover what's happening, to legislators to really understand that this is an issue that needs to be paid close attention to, which will then lead to funding a legislative solution. So I think that's what's unique and special about this particular day. Of course, we have, National Water Safety Month, which is celebrated in the month of May here in the US, but having this particular day that stakeholders from across the United States and the world can really rally around drowning prevention and highlight it in as interesting of a way as possible is really beneficial and helps drive awareness.
Hey, Megan, I want to pick up on that too, because something that I've noticed in the past couple of years is NDPA has done a lot of work trying to draw attention to the issue of drowning to the general public, especially during the summer season. We get a lot of attention on this issue in May in the media, and it carries into June. I think World's Largest Swimming Lesson and some other events. I think the Olympic trials may have helped this year. We tend to see a really good spike around the July 4th with, unfortunately, as drownings happen, the media tends to revisit this subject. But we've noticed the last couple of years that it then starts to really drop off as we go in past the 4th of July holiday through the rest of the summer. And what is challenging to that is, drownings continue to happen. This issue does not stop, once we hit the July 4th weekend. And, just looking at Florida, I know it's really hard to capture drowning statistics right now, but I want to ring the alarm bell. What we're seeing in Florida right now, DCF's database shows as of this morning, 58 childhood drownings in the state so far. And I did a quick comparison in my data in past historical years with DCF, and I can't find a year that we are this many drownings this early in this point in the year in Florida. 2021 came close, but it is surpassing 2021 at this point. So I think this is a really great positioning day for World Drowning Prevention Day from a US perspective, because it could give us another spike in attention, and not just nationally, but also locally, because I do, with this next question, want to drive that I think we all feel, both in our individual work with our organizations and with the development of the US Action Plan, that drownings are really best prevented locally. What we can do at the national level is help provide resources, tools, guidance, structure, all of those different things, but we need people in their local communities to also draw attention to this issue and continue their local work in drowning prevention. So my question to each of you is, if you had the opportunity to say, something to someone considering doing something on July 25th for World Drowning Prevention Day. We're going to talk about what they can do next, but what would you say to them to convince them to get them involved in this? So Megan, I'll start with you, and we'll work the other clockwise way with this one.
So, if I was trying to convince someone to get involved in this issue, I would simply talk about how water is something that is something to be enjoyed. Right? We want people to not be afraid to be around water. We want them to enjoy it, but we want them to enjoy it safely. And so whether it's talking to the media about how to craft a message that reflects that, and listen, Adam, as we move out of the 4th of July season, we enter into a more complicated media cycle, and that's become even more difficult in the last 5 years. But we have COVID, we have back to school, we have elections, we have the crisis in the Middle East that we're competing with to get a basic safety message out there. So if we can craft the story in a way that isn't so scary. But let's be honest, these rip current drownings that we've seen up and down the East Coast over the last few days have been terrifying, and the media has kind of glommed onto that and covered it. I guess, finding ways to make the story well-rounded, comprehensive, and to include those safety tips along with what joy of water, of being around water, can provide you throughout your entire life. So that's kind of like on a macro level, how to get media or legislators to talk about it. On a micro level, in your community, what can you do? You can go to your mayor and say that you want a water safety proclamation for July 25th. There's lots of templates out there to do it. And then that's a great way to get some local earned media coverage, right? July 25th is, the town of Malvern's National Water Safety Day, Global Water Safety Day, really trying to be scalable in what you can do on a local level. And that's something that media would love to cover.
Megan, I think you make a really good point about the competition out there right now. I had a conversation with our PR team yesterday, and they said, don't expect any miracles this week. We have a presidential debate, and we've never seen one this early, but that is eating up a lot of our media cycle right now. Alison, I'll turn it over to you.
So if I were to try to talk to someone about joining World Drowning Prevention Day and what actions they could do, I'd encourage them to do the small thing. Obviously, I like to do big things, but big things are often comprised of a whole bunch of small things. So I think sometimes people stand on the sidelines and they don't get involved because they think it's too big, it's too hard. I can't put on a giant event for the community. I can't do this. I can't do. You can do a small thing. You can write a letter to your politician. And I know we'll get in further to the small, like the ideas of things. I have 100 small things you can do that would make an impact, but I just encourage you to do the small things. And if we can convince every single panelist on here today to do a small thing, the panelists and participants, we'd end up with 50 small things, and that becomes a big thing. It really is. I guess at the end of the day, think if I, helped one child be safe around the water each day, that's hundreds of children a year. So it really does make an impact. So don't let the enormity of the day or the enormity of the task dissuade you from making an effort.
Great point, Alison. Lindsay, what would you say?
Yeah, I think I echo what's been said, but do what you can to raise awareness. And maybe one of those things, I mean, most of us are connected to a small little computer most of our day, and have our own social channels. So I would say share posts on your social channels, uplift posts from national organizations looking to raise awareness. I tag the WHO and tag drowning prevention, right? So that it's uplifted and elevated in those social channels as well. Share a story about drowning prevention on social media, right? If you have a facility, think about how your facility can raise awareness. Do a celebration. I know we're probably going to be talking about some of these things, but I think like we said, just do something to get started.
Great point. And Connie?
And I will just build on what's been said. Certainly the engaging your network, and that can be your professional network as well as your personal network, whether it's through social, but also, thinking again about doing something really big can be intimidating, especially when facilities are so busy right now. But one kind of do one thing could be, who are the people you're not talking to right now about this topic? And it might be, at your workplace that, I imagine many of those on the call right now are part of an aquatics facility in some way, but what are the people who are outside of aquatics? What about the people who are maintaining your water? What about your HR people? So can you bring something in that becomes the City of X's Day for water safety? It engages the entire organization. And then that also, taking that little different twist might be something that's enough to say, hey, now that comms team, the communications team, might be wanting to tell the story and engage their local media to say, this is what we're doing as a community, as our city organization, and you do it as well. So think of the small things with the twist that might package the story a little bit differently, as Megan mentioned.
That's a great suggestion, Connie. And I think I know my panelists a little too well, because we started to jump to my next question a little bit, but that's okay, because I do want to highlight this, and I don't necessarily need a long response to this, but I'm curious, I haven't seen a theme for World Drowning Prevention Day 2024 just yet. I keep checking the website, but the theme that they've used in past years is do one thing. And I'm gonna, add to that, just in the mix of, we've heard small things, right? If you do one small thing, and everyone in our water safety community could do one small thing on July 25th, that would amount to a really big thing for the day of July 25th. So when we hear that do one thing, does anyone want to speak to that theme? Alison, we'll start with you.
So I think something that we've been really successful with is starting by listening. One small thing we did this summer that's been super impactful was I continually heard from lifeguards how challenging it was at our bigger aquatic parks when field trips show up. You show up with very, young adult leaders, very few leaders compared to how many kids quickly descend on the water park. They get out, it's chaos because they're all rushing toward the water. At several aquatic parks, we made 3-minute videos. The lifeguards make a 3-minute video that is sent to the field trip, either the school or the daycare or whoever's coming on the field trip, with the request that all their supervisors watch it first. It's asking them, just telling them what's expected of them as chaperoning this field trip and what the lifeguards need from them. And they said they've seen a change. They can tell which groups have watched the video and which groups haven't. And that just came out of listening. And really, it just organically came from listening and is a small thing. So ask the people who are on the ground, ask the people who are that need to be heard. And I think you can find a small thing very easily that, I think we put together those videos each in 15 minutes, and I know I've heard tons of positive feedback. So
I love
just
that,
listen
Alison.
and you
That's
can
very
go.
cool.
That is very cool, Allison. That's where I think too, adding in these small things that each community can do. But I think, Allison, you bring up a really important point that I know we discuss all the time with the U.S. Action Plan, is that every community is at a different place with water safety. Every state is different. Drownings happen in different ways. Your seasons are different. Your geography is different, and your population is different. So drilling that down from the state to the county to the community level and really listening and understanding where water safety is at can make a big difference. Connie, I'm wondering if you have any experiences to share on that with your work with the Centennial Campaign.
What with identifying particular problems?
Yeah.
This is great timing on this. We just came back from a site visit with our Centennial program in Cincinnati Recreation Commission. And they are doing that. They are listening to their communities. Now, this is kind of away from a little bit the idea of World Drowning Prevention Day, but it's a perfect example of listening to what the issues might be. And within their system, they have 24 pools, and they used to essentially have a blanket program. What you did in one pool, you replicated in the other pools. And they have changed how they're doing business, and they're listening to the communities. And so we're seeing in some places where swimming lessons are set up as a 2-week session that you register for in advance, and other pools that they're seeing that no, they need to do drop-in programs. And so they are listening to the community and seeing what works. And on that drop-in program, there were 45 people that dropped in that night for 2 different sets of swimming lessons, different age groups and all. But it was awesome. The community is needing that. They're expecting that. And that is just providing such a wonderful example of they are meeting the community where they are.
That's a great example. Thank you for sharing that. Let's dive right into some ideas of what we can do for World Drowning Prevention Day and give our listeners some ideas. I want to separate this, though, from dry side to wet side, because I know, we can talk about a number of activities we can do on the water side, and we will do that. But I do want to talk about all the different things we can do to draw attention to this issue, educate people, advocate for this issue, on the dry land side. And, kind of with that idea of do one thing, I'd like to kind of set it up this way for the discussion of, let's talk about these and individualize things that people may choose to do depending on where their community's at, the time they have available, and what they think might make the most impact. So we're going to do somewhat of a round robin and share some ideas. We'll keep this mix going. But Megan, I'll start with you. What's your first idea from a dry land side that our communities can do to celebrate World Drowning Prevention Day?
I would say go to your town's mayor and see if you can get a water safety proclamation set up. I think that's one really good, interesting thing you can do. If that seems too big, right? And Alison spoke really nicely to the doing a small thing, but doing it well. Do social media posts that day and use the hashtag thread that everyone is using for for World Drowning Prevention Day. Connect with your community in that way and share resources online. That's certainly something everyone can do.
And there are great examples out there. One of the things, and I didn't say this to set this up, is you don't need to recreate the wheel. There are so many great tools from all the organizations represented here. And I will see what our team can do to pull this off. But we have a sample proclamation for International Water Safety Day and Water Safety Month that's available in NDPA's Water Safety Season Toolkit. I'll see if we can make a few adjustments there and give everyone a sample to work off of for World Drowning Prevention Day. Alison, we'll go to you.
I would say reach out to your local trauma-based hospital. Each one will have an injury prevention specialist, and they are often tasked with so many things from car seat safety to falls and bumps and bruises. And it's summer, they're handling all those trampoline injuries, but they are also seeing drowning, fatal and non-fatal drownings, and it's really good to reach out to them and connect with them. Often, in my discussions with those people, they don't know from sitting in a hospital exactly how to engage water safety. So see if they'd like to connect with you, see if you can build your network one person at a time. And I wouldn't say that's for this day. I would say I try to build one great community partner each month. It's a realistic goal, but you never know what your partnerships can build and develop. So just keep striving to connect with people and work together.
I think that's a really excellent point, Allison. And just like not recreating the wheel, you don't have to feel like you're out there by yourself with this, right? If you already have great partners that you work with in your community, in your jurisdiction, work with them and pull them into this idea and then create a larger impact and a larger voice. Lindsay, we'll turn to you for your first idea.
Yeah, again, with not recreating the wheel, if you go to the WHO website, they have a ton of resources in a toolkit. Everything from videos and social media posts that you can just take and use to start it kind of organically on your own, or put a light out, right? Go blue. So putting a blue light on your doorstep and a blue light bulb on your doorstep and turning on another great example of a couple easy action things that folks can do.
I really like that idea of the blue light outside, just because even if you spark a conversation with your neighborhood about water safety and why do you have a blue light in front of your house today, right? That can make a huge impact. Connie.
I think an easy thing for organizations to be able to do is do something that creates kind of a challenge or a contest kind of thing. So that it could be as simple as, how many kids or the percentage of your kids at your summer camp learned about water safety today, whether it's by reading a book like The Polar Bear Who Wouldn't Swim, or by doing one or more of the lessons of whale tales. So, like kind of create some buzz in that way among those that are in your work environment, if you will, but away from the pool. Another thing, you could do something similar by getting them on our, we have at the Red Cross, we have many online courses that somebody could take about water safety. And we've seen some of our Centennial programs, they will get a course set up on their, get it set up through our class posting service our ROC, request online classes, and then have it open up, and anybody who takes the class and completes the class, it would be eligible for a prize. So and then that prize is often just swag from that organization. So so that ends up on their Facebook pages and incentivizes them to take the 20 minutes or so to learn a little bit more about water safety.
That's a great idea, Connie. And I want to pick up on something else you said there too. Think about going to your local library. There are so many great storybooks. If you could set up a children's reading hour to read a couple storybooks to different ages. This is summertime. I know schools may not be an option until we get back into the back to school season in August, but there are so many literacy programs happening across the country. That could be a great way to tie in with so many of the different storybooks. And if you're looking for storybook recommendations, you can visit NDPA.org's teacher toolkit, and we make some fantastic storybook recommendations as well. I'm going to see if any of the other panelists have any ideas they would like to share that have come up. I want to keep circling around, but I know I don't want to give anyone a question they're going to be stumped on. So if you want to give me a hand wave if you have another idea, Allison, we'll toss it to you.
I have one not so shameless plug. Join the NDPA. There's like great membership options, free and paid. Please encourage someone else to join. Obviously, it's an alliance, and as an alliance, the more people we have in the alliance, the better work we can do, the better impact we can have. I'm sure there's someone you work with regularly that's never even heard of the NDPA. Obviously, you guys have, you're here. So share it with someone else. Let's see if we can grow membership to continue to grow our broad reach and our great impact we're having. I feel like there's a lot of momentum right now in water safety, and together we can continue to grow that impact.
Thanks for that tip, Allison. Any other panelists before we go into the water-based? Lindsay.
I think we might have mentioned it, but I'll just call it out very specifically, right? But there's the ability for all of us to think about how we can contribute to a local drowning prevention priority, right? Something that's already happening within your community, or join a local or state coalition that might be either forming or is already in the process of creating a framework for local action. You know, if you need help, right, with that, I know the folks on this call definitely have some of the connections in different states and regions and know where local efforts and local action might be happening. And so there are resources out there if you're interested, because it's going to take people to make the change in the local. It's happening on a grassroots level, and that's what the U.S. National Water Safety Action Plan is calling for. But it's going to take people who are dedicated to help with the work to make a dent.
I think that's a great suggestion, Lindsay. And also think about what other local groups exist in your community, right? We've seen amazing work with our friends at the Joshua Collingsworth Memorial Foundation working with Rotary clubs across the world. And it's a great feasible way because these are groups who are doing community service-based activities and are willing to latch on and help amplify the work that we're doing. I think that's a great suggestion. One last suggestion I'll give before we hop to the water side of what can be done on that date is press outreach. You know, call your local newspaper, call your local radio station, your local TV station. They may not know that World Drowning Prevention Day is July 25th, and this is a summertime topic in the United States. So it's a relevant topic for this time of year. And we have some great resources, again, in our summer toolkit that has a press and media guide that arm you with the facts, the stats, and some media messaging to help you draw attention to this issue. So let's start with the water side, and I'm going to start with our representative from the American Red Cross, because I know you have water activities happening all across the country this time of year. So what is something we can do from the wet side to participate in World Drowning Prevention Day, Connie?
Well, you can certainly do something to elevate, amplify, put an exclamation point on the swimming lessons that you have going on that day. And that might just having that conversation with the media to say, come and check us out, or with your leadership. I will tell you that even in my role at the Red Cross, there are a lot of times that some of the leadership gets disconnected from the work that we do. They're very supportive of it, but they don't get to see it firsthand. So invite the city manager to come and see what's happening at your aquatic facility. Bring your comms team in. So that would be a way to do one small thing that is something that you're already doing anyway, but put something special on about what you're doing on that day to draw some additional attention to the work.
Great answer. And Lindsay, I'm going to turn it to you. But I know you guys have a program at the Y that is focused on making families safer around water all year long, but I think that might be another program activity that could be done on that day.
Yeah, so we have the Safety Around Water program, which is a program that really speaks to teaching kids the skills that they need to combat obviously drowning, evidence-informed program. But like that, you could host a family swim event, a community event, a media event, invite local and state representatives in, right? So thinking about how you can elevate and celebrate throughout that day or that week if you have local representatives that aren't able to attend on that day. But just thinking about both at private and public facilities, how you can activate and bring some recognition to the day.
You know, Lindsay, I love that idea. And also the fact of what skills can you expose people to that they may have otherwise not? You know, we talk a lot about the importance of knowing basic water rescue and some basic skills in the water, how to help someone that's in trouble without getting yourself in danger, right? Setting up some stations around the pool during a family swim event, such as reach, throw, don't go, reaching something out, helping someone in shallow water, even a CPR station, that can bring attention to the issue, but then also help elevate kind of the competency with water safety of your community. Alison, we'll go to you.
If you hear me talk a lot, you'll hear me talk about our work in St. Paul. We have a perfect storm going on in St. Paul, Minnesota right now with some great support from the top down, from the mayor on down. And we decided this year we're just going to open the pools for free. It's going to be a surprise day. The morning of, they're going to hit their social media and say, come on down to the public pools in St. Paul. They are free for the day. We're going to have resources available for education. We're going to have free life jackets. And we're also going to have set up tables where families who have not had exposure to signing up for swim lessons can sign up for swim lessons. We found some systemic problems in traditional swim lesson sign up where you just have to hop on the Park and Rep website and sign up. Some of our more diverse communities don't have the same sort of internet access or the same ability or understanding of how the process works. So we're really going to use the day to highlight our swim lessons in the fall and just kind of do a pop-ups. We're just call it Splash On In. And so hopefully it'll be well attended and families who haven't necessarily felt connected or able to afford an afternoon at the pool can come for a free day and join us. And again, it's all about connections.
I love the removal of the barrier there because so often we talk about with the U.S. Action Plan or the barriers that some communities face and even some cultures face with accessing water and even low-income populations in our country. So being able to make aquatics relevant that day to a family and also start that broader water safety conversation can make a huge impact. Great suggestion. Megan, we'll go to you.
Thanks, Adam. So on the wet side that day, the ZAC Foundation will be hosting ZAC camps in Kodiak, Alaska and in Honolulu, Hawaii. So really trying to reach into some populations that don't, have access to a lot of resources. We're also going to be hosting a life jacket giveaway and unveiling our first life jacket loaner station. So, what's one wet thing you can do? You can make sure that you and your loved ones all own properly fitted U.S. Coast Guard approved life jackets and partner with local outdoor stores to either offer them for free or offer them at wholesale or find a way to make them affordable and accessible to your community. So, that would be some of my kind of very practical recommendations for what you can do on the wet side.
I think that's fantastic, Megan, and congratulations on the ZAC camps in Hawaii and Alaska. I know many listening will know, and it's sometimes overshadowed with some of the statistics we talk about, but our Native American, Alaskan Native populations are at a much higher drowning rate than other races in the country. So thank you for making the impact in those communities. And I think that's also relevant to this discussion of how we can reach across to communities that are underrepresented in our typical work at our community levels, but also, looking at our drowning statistics and looking at your local statistics and understanding how these incidents are happening and understanding how that can make you have a broader impact. Before we move on, any other ideas for the wet side of World Drowning Prevention Day? Connie.
So kind of similar and building on to the swim lesson idea is, as if, on that day when you invite the families in, invite the parents so that they can be up close and watching what's happening, and see where they are on their water competency journey. like do some good exit skill assessment kinds of things with the kids, so parents have a good understanding about where they are in their swim lessons and what they can do and what they can't do. And I love that, adding on the idea of the reach or throw, don't go, opportunities for family CPR, so engaging the entire family in that and in the role everybody has to play.
It's a great suggestion. Megan.
Yeah, I would say don't be afraid to have a conversation with members of your community. I was at my swim club the other day and sitting on the edge of the pool with my 4-year-old in arm's reach and looking around and seeing only one lifeguard present and about 40 people in the pool. And so I pulled my 4-year-old out of the water, went over to the lifeguard office and said, hey guys, you need at least 2, if not 3 lifeguards. It was so uncomfortable for me to do that. And I'm in drowning prevention. So being, confident in kind of speaking to these safety risks without feeling concerned that you're going to be annoying or, perceived as difficult, really just doing it in a way that educates the community and increases safety would be another kind of wet side activity or something you could do that day. And it could also be really talking to your families and your friends about what it means to be a water watcher, what it means to not rely on a lifeguard, what it means to enjoy water safely with your family, but to do so in a way that creates an additional layer of protection that will keep everyone safe.
Megan, what I want to tack on to that, and I think that's so critical to just be informing your neighbors and community members, because so often those of us, I know we've all heard this in our interactions working with families who have lost a loved one to a drowning, are the words, I didn't know. I can't tell you how many media interviews I've done, conversations with parents who even haven't lost a child and say, drowning's the leading cause of death for 1 to 4-year-olds, or drowning is going to be fast and silent. So often we find that the population is unaware of that. So just being able to spark that, topic with a family, and even if they learn a little bit about the subject, that they can make their family safer around water, so critical. Connie, go ahead.
I just want to share one little story. I was flying back from Ohio to Florida on Friday, and there was a family that was in the row with me, and we started having a conversation about what is bringing you here. And they were coming with their family, where they were all gathering, rented a beach house in the county north of me, and my heart dropped to my feet, because this is the scenario where so many drownings are happening in our state and have over the last few years. So I was like, okay, I'm going to tell you this. You just got lucky and got to sit next to somebody who's in drowning prevention, but here's the spiel. And I just felt like I had to tell them this, the stats are, not in your favor right now. So please, please, please. And then handed them materials about, talk to everybody here about whale tails, do your water watcher cards, so for the next 30 minutes, they got the orientation about water safety, and they were a very captive audience. But this lady, she's like, I have never thought of any of those things. And it's like, I felt like that was such the right thing to do, and probably annoyed her, but still the right thing to do. So Megan, your comment about don't want to be that annoying one, but, and I felt like that, but I also was glad I did.
But Connie, you're completely right. It's like the shoot your shot moments. Like, just you happen to be there, you take advantage of it. We have knowledge that other people don't have, and it's good to share it. I think another big thing it's important to do. Often those of us who work in this field feel anxious and things when we go to pools and see things going on, because it's overwhelming and you don't want anything ever to happen and you're not necessarily in control. But my kids and I were at a water park last week. The lifeguarding team was doing phenomenal. So I made sure and found the supervisor and told him, like, hey, I work in drowning prevention. I noticed the lifeguards more than you realize, and they were doing phenomenal. So he was going to make sure they all heard it at the end of the day. So I mean, sometimes we don't want to get into that doom and gloom. We want to call out the good work that we see. So in our community, and especially with our lifeguards, I think it's the idea we've got to find the people who love aquatics, love drowning prevention, and have them be on this panel in our places in 10 years. It's seeking out those leaders and developing them and giving them the praise they deserve as well.
Well, I think, well, before I move on to our final question for the panel, anything else you would like to share with the audience today on ideas of ways they can make a local impact on World Drowning Prevention Day? I am going to toss out one thing before we go into our final question, and that is please share what you're doing on World Drowning Prevention Day. I know those of us that work with our international partners in water safety, I always get asked the question, well, why isn't the US doing anything for World Drowning Prevention Day? And you know, I know it's a tough time because we already have celebrated National Water Safety Month, International Water Safety Day in the United States, into World's Largest Swimming Lesson, and we're ending in our summer season. But just like what we had talked about at the beginning, this is an excellent opportunity. Even when World Drowning Prevention Day happens a month from now, we will still have a lot of runway left in this summer. And our southern states, you know, who stay warm the majority of the year have a long time to go. So drawing attention to this issue on World Drowning Prevention Day is really important, but also sharing what you're doing. The louder voice that we have and can show activities, it sparks action in other communities. It challenges other communities and others to get involved. So even if you're doing something, just one thing or something small, don't be afraid to share it. Let NDPA know, let all of our organizations know what you're doing, so we can help celebrate it and we can report out on everything that the US has done for World Drowning Prevention Day to draw attention to an issue that just doesn't, you know, impact the United States, but is also a really heavy issue on global burden with drowning. So with that, I'm going to go around the circle one last time, and I'm going to ask you, specific to, you know, people watching, if you had to, you know, give one spark of encouragement for them to take action on World Drowning Prevention Day, or one thing you would want them to think about in, you know, whether they're going back and forth of what they could do on that day, what would be your one piece of advice to them? Alison, I'm going to start with you, and then we're going to work around the circle.
This is maybe not all people, but it's to the mamas out there. Find a swimsuit, get in the pool with your kids. My older kids are at the end of high school now, and I'm glad for all those times I just enjoyed the water with them. Not only is it obviously a safer way to be at the pool or at the lake, um, time passes quickly. Just get in the water and have the fun and make the memories. And um, also realizing that my parents didn't know how to swim. So my mom was never in the pool with us. I don't have those memories. My kids will have those memories, and I imagine that my boys will be dads that'll be in the water playing with their kids. And that's the type of thing that will grow to create generational changes.
Great suggestion, Alison. Megan, we'll go to you.
Well, that's kind of a tough one to follow, Adam. You know, I think as you're looking at this Drowning Prevention Day, there's nothing that's too small. Whether it's getting in the water with your family and enjoying the water safely, or going to your mayor and getting that proclamation signed, or even getting together a group of community leaders. Sometimes it feels really overwhelming to set that meeting date and to get people into the room together. Maybe use World Drowning Prevention Day as your hook for why everyone should come. Invite your fire chief, your police chief, maybe a school superintendent, your local YMCA or Red Cross representative, and have a conversation about the risks in your communities, the challenges, the opportunities, and begin a discussion. You're not going to come out of that meeting with a plan, and quite frankly, you won't have one for more than a year after that initial meeting. But maybe use this year's World Drowning Prevention Day as the day to have that first community drowning prevention action plan meeting.
That's a great suggestion, Megan. Lindsay, we'll turn it to you.
Yeah, I think I really resonate with the previous theme for World Drowning Prevention Day, and you laid it out, the do one thing, but it's the full theme, right, is do one thing, improve one thing, and add one thing, right? So we all have the capability to get involved at whatever level we're able to, and everyone can start or contribute somewhere. And so just thinking intentionally about what you can do, what influence you have to be able to do that thing. And if you can stretch yourself a little bit to do that next level thing, right? I think that's really what I want to say is stretch yourself a little bit and get outside that comfort zone to push for more if you can.
Great suggestion, Lindsay. Connie, we'll turn it to you.
I would say keeping it on the smaller side, but impactful side is be that role model for the day. You know, do something that is a visible something that you're doing. And it might be that you're on a kayak, but you're wearing a life jacket and you're taking a picture of yourself in that kayak with your life jacket on and posting it to your social media and saying, you know, this is the thing that I am doing today for water safety. Friends, what are you doing? So it could be that you are the one who has taken our whale tails materials and are delivering whale tails at the summer camp. And then again, get it on social media. Now, of course, get permission to post if you're showing the little kiddos back there. But show what you're doing, be the role model, walk the walk, and then spread the word.
I think that's a great suggestion, Connie. And I'm going to give my final piece, which is, again, and I know I've already said it, but don't recreate the wheel. There are so many fantastic programs that each of the organizations represented on today's webinar have, but there are so many other organizations out there that all have fantastic water safety materials. It can be overwhelming to think about what can I do on this one day, even if it's something small. But you don't have to recreate the wheel. And if you are struggling, if you're we've been doing a lot of thinking about this and just need someone to chat with, reach out to NDPA, reach out to those organizations represented on the U.S. National Water Safety Action Plan. We are all here to help you and help impact your communities. So with that, we will close out today's webinar. For those of you watching, thank you so much for joining us. Our next webinar, and I should have this date already pulled up, but our next webinar will be on July 10th, where we will be focusing on natural water safety. Until then, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much to each of our panelists, and thank you for considering getting involved in World Drowning Prevention Day in your communities. Everyone, stay safe this summer, and we'll see you again soon.